In this lesson, we are going to explore how physical exercise affects the human body, particularly focusing on respiration and its related processes. The key idea to understand is that when we exercise, our muscles contract more frequently and more forcefully than they do during rest, and this significantly increases the body's demand for energy. Since energy in our body is produced through a process called cellular respiration, exercise leads to an increase in the rate of respiration. The energy required for muscular contractions during exercise comes mainly from aerobic respiration, which is a chemical process that uses oxygen to release energy from glucose. Because aerobic respiration relies on oxygen, our body must find ways to deliver more oxygen to the muscles efficiently. One of the first ways it does this is by increasing the rate at which we breathe, meaning how many breaths we take each minute, and also by increasing the volume of each breath, which is how much air we inhale with each breath. These changes together help bring more oxygen into the body and into the bloodstream. However, this also means that the muscles around our lungs, including the diaphragm and intercostal muscles, have to work harder, and that effort itself requires energy. In addition to breathing faster and deeper, our heart rate also increases significantly during exercise. This is because the oxygen absorbed through the lungs must be quickly transported to the working muscles through the blood. A faster heartbeat pumps blood more rapidly throughout the body, ensuring oxygen and glucose are delivered to muscle cells as quickly as possible. This extra circulation also helps remove carbon dioxide and other waste products generated during increased activity. However, during very intense activities, such as sprinting or fast-paced cycling, the demand for oxygen may become so high that our respiratory and circulatory systems cannot keep up. When this happens, the muscle cells must switch to anaerobic respiration, which does not use oxygen. Anaerobic respiration can provide energy quickly in these situations, but it is much less efficient than aerobic respiration. It releases far less energy from the same amount of glucose and results in the formation of a byproduct called lactic acid. Lactic acid builds up in muscle tissues during anaerobic respiration and is responsible for the painful burning sensation we sometimes feel after very intense exercise. Although it allows the muscles to continue working temporarily when oxygen is scarce, it creates a problem that the body must address after the activity ends. Once exercise stops, the body begins to remove the accumulated lactic acid. This process requires oxygen, and the amount of oxygen required to break down the lactic acid is known as the oxygen debt. It is this oxygen debt that we are repaying when we find ourselves breathing heavily and gasping for air after intense activity. During this recovery phase, the blood transports the lactic acid away from the muscles and to the liver, where it is converted back into glucose in a reaction that requires oxygen. This is one reason why athletes often continue to breathe heavily even after they have stopped moving. To better understand how exercise affects the body, scientists and students can investigate changes in certain physiological indicators, most commonly breathing rate and heart rate. To measure breathing rate, you simply count how many times a person's chest rises and falls in a given period, usually over the course of 1 minute. This gives an estimate of how often the person is inhaling and exhaling. Measuring heart rate is similarly straightforward. You can place 2 fingers on an artery, either on the wrist or the side of the neck, and count the number of pulses you feel in 1 minute. This gives you the number of times the heart is beating per minute. These simple methods can be used to compare a person's resting rates with those measured immediately after exercise and then again after a recovery period. Typically, you will see that both breathing rate and heart rate increase during exercise and gradually return to resting levels afterward. In many science lessons and exams, students are asked to describe these changes and explain the biological reasons behind them. Understanding this process helps us appreciate how our body adapts to physical challenges and how efficient it is at managing energy, oxygen, and waste during times of high demand.